Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodhanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodhanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodhanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodhanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Astottara Sata Sri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki, Namacharya Haridas Thakur ki, Prem Sakaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki, Shishi Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakun Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki, Shri Vrindavan Dham ki, Mayapur Navadvip Dham ki, Gangamayi ki, Yamunamayi ki, Bhakti Devi ki, Tulsi Maharani ki, Samaveta Bhaktavrinda ki. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 25, The Glories of Devotional Service. Text number 2. Please repeat. Na hi asya varshamana pungsang varimna sarva yoginam vishruto shruta devasya bhuri tripyanti me ashava nayasya varshamana pungsang nahyasya varshamana pungsam varimna sarva yoginam vishruto shrutta devasya bhuri tripyanti me sava nahayasya varshamana pungsang varimna sarva yoginam vishruto shrutta devasya bhuri tripyanti me sava nahayasya varshamana pungsang varimna sarva yoginam vishruto shrutta devasya bhuri tripyanti me sava nahyasya varshamana pungsang varimna sarva yoginam vishruto shrutta devasya bhuri tripyanti me sava nahayasya varshmana pumsam varimna sarva yoginam vishruto shrutta devasya bhuri tripyanti me sava. Varshmana pumsam varimna sarva yoginam vishruto shrutta devasya bhuri tripyanti me sava nayasya varshmana pungsang varimna sarva yoginam vishruto shrutta devasya bhuri tripyanti me savam. Na, not, he, indeed, asya, about him, varshmana, the greatest, pungsam, among men, varimna, the foremost, sarva, all yoginam, of yogis, vishruto, in hearing, Shrutadevasya, the master of the Vedas, Bhuri, repeatedly, Trapyanti, are sated, may, my, Ashava, senses. Translation. Shaunaka continued, there is no one who knows more than the Lord himself. No one is more worshipable or more mature a yogi than he. He is therefore the master of the Vedas, and to hear about him always is the actual pleasure of the senses. Please repeat. Shaunaka continued, there is no one who knows more than the Lord himself. No one is more worshipable or more mature a yogi than he. He is therefore the master of the Vedas, and to hear about him always is the actual pleasure of the senses. Srila Prabhupada's purport. In Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that no one can be equal to or greater than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is confirmed in the Vedas also. Eko bahunam yo vidadati kaman. He is the Supreme Living Entity and is supplying the necessities of all other living entities. Thus all other living entities, both Vishnu Tattva and Jiva Tattva, are subordinate to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. The same concept is confirmed here. Na hyasya varshmana pungsang. Among the living entities, no one can surpass the Supreme Person, because no one is richer, more famous, stronger, more beautiful, wiser, or more renounced than he. These qualifications make him the Supreme Godhead, the cause of all causes. Yogis are very proud of performing wonderful feats, but no one can compare to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anyone who is associated with the Supreme Lord is accepted as a first-class yogi. Devotees may not be as powerful as the Supreme Lord, but by constant association with the Lord, they become as good as the Lord himself. Sometimes the devotees act more powerfully than the Lord. Of course, that is the Lord's concession. Also used here is the word varimna, meaning the most worshipful of all yogis. To hear from Krishna is the real pleasure of the senses. Therefore he is known as Govinda, for by his words, his teachings, by his instruction, by everything connected with him, he enlivens the senses. Whatever he instructs is from the transcendental platform, and his instructions, being absolute, are none different from him. Hearing from Krishna, or his expansion, or plenary expansion like Kapila, is very pleasing to the senses. Bhagavad Gita can be read or heard many times, but because it gives great pleasure, the more one reads Bhagavad Gita, the more he gets the appetite to read and understand it. And each time he gets new enlightenment. That is the nature of the transcendental message. Similarly, when we find that transcendental happiness in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the more we hear and chant the glories of the Lord, the more we become happy. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Shtapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Jita Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sadivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Taptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Na hyasya varshmana pumsam varimna sarva yoginam vishruto shruta devasya bhuri tripyanti me sava. Shaunaka continued, there is no one who knows more than the Lord himself. No one is more worshipable or more mature, a yogi, than he. He is therefore the master of the Vedas, and to hear about him always is the actual pleasure of the senses. Hare Krishna. This 25th chapter, very, very famous chapter of the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, we are beginning now. Of course, this is being spoken by Shaunaka Muni to Sutta Goswami after the very elaborate account of the marriage and engagement of Devahuti and Kardama Muni. And now their glorious son has appeared, Lord Kapila, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Kardama Muni has he's left. And we hear in this 25th chapter the glories of devotional service, where Lord Kapila is going to start his instructions, his teachings. So this will go on for some chapters. And this particular chapter, it's very, very important, so much so that Srila Prabhupada, the BBT, published a book on this 25th chapter, The Teachings of Lord Kapila. And Prabhupada in Bombay 1 year spoke elaborately from various verses from this chapter as well. So Lord Kapila, we know, appeared many millions of years ago, and he propounded the Sankhya philosophy. Sankhya, we understand to be an analytical study of all the elements. In other words, coming to the understanding of the difference between matter and spirit. And when one understands that, as Lord Kapila teaches, from the very first of his teachings, this chapter 25, one must culminate in Bhakti Yoga. This is the theistic approach to Sankhya Yoga. That when one analyzes everything as it is, one must come to the understanding that there is personality behind it, controlling everything. This is a foundational understanding of Bhakti Yoga. That by everything out there, all the knowledge, all the deep analysis, very careful analysis of everything, one comes to the understanding of the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and our own position as His parts and parcel, eternally related to Him in a mood of service, in a consciousness of service. So this is what Lord Kapila has come to teach. Unlike Prabhupada, who sometimes speaks about the more recent in the sense that a few thousand years ago, I think, of the Kapila, Prabhupada sometimes says the imposter Kapila, who taught Sankhya as well, but with a non-theistic, an atheistic outcome. What Lord Kapila is doing is presenting a theistic, a devotional outcome of bhakti yoga, of devotional service to Krishna. So here no one knows more than the Supreme Lord. No one is greater than Him. Prabhupada quotes the verse from the Katha Upanishad, Nityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadati Kaman. That there are two types of living entities, and both are eternal. Nitya, they are both eternal. The one is eternal, and the many are also eternal. Chaitanas Chaitananam. Both are existing, both are conscious, both are aware. But the one who is also eternal, he is more aware than everyone else, than all the numerous living entities. He is most aware, although both are aware. And that one, Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadatu Kaman. Although he is just one, he is maintaining the needs of the innumerable, of everyone. Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadatu Kaman. So this is his position. And as a result, no one can be equal to or greater than that Supreme Lord. This is who the Katha Upanishad is referring to in the Vedas. The Supreme Lord. The difference between the Supreme Lord and the innumerable living entities. So no one can be equal to or greater. Asam Murdva. Asama means you cannot be equal to, or Urdva, or higher or greater. You cannot be. No one can be higher or greater than the Supreme Lord. And here in the purport, Prabhupada goes so far as to point out Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, how everyone is subordinate to Krishna. And he speaks about both Vishnu Tattva and Jiva Tattva. Everyone is subordinate to Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Like this. Matak Parataram Nanyat Kinchit Asti Dhananjaya Maya Sarvam Idam Protam Sutre Mani Gana Eva. This is Krishna. There is no truth. Nothing is greater than Krishna. Nothing is greater than Krishna. Matta Parataram Nanyat. There is no great superior to him, Krishna is saying to Arjuna. And he says that he's permeating throughout existence, controlling everything, supporting everything, just as pearls are strung on a thread. Isn't it? Just as pearls are strung on a thread. And this is interesting. Through our analytical understanding of looking at things, seeing them for what they are, we may wonder, how is Krishna permeating through everything? How is he supporting everything? I do not see Krishna, as the chair that he is supporting Maharaj while he's sitting on him. I just see a chair made up some elements. I do not see him on the ground. Show me how is it. Can you prove to me? But that example, Sutre Mani Gana Eva, just as pearls are being supported by a thread. Just like if we have a good necklace, like if you have good neck beads or a very nice garland, very nice pearl, expensive pearl necklace. One of the qualities of a well-made garland or a necklace is that you do not see the thread. Isn't it? It's a quality. If you see the thread, then you know somebody didn't do a good job. Especially when you see the garlands. Many times I've been given garlands and the back part, it's no flowers then, it hurts the neck. It's like painful. I don't know if you'll have that experience. Right? So well-made garland, you can't see the thread. then you know, hey, it's well made. This person who's made it knows what they're doing. Right? So similarly, the entire creation is going along, but the way the Lord has created it is that He is unseen through it. His potency, His influence is unseen by the direct eye. We cannot expect simply by our puny eyes, on demand, I want to see, I want to experience, I want to verify. Verification of something transcendental cannot be ascertained by mundane faculties. That which is transcendental is beyond the perception, beyond the purview of that which is material. But we can get a sense. Just like in that 7th chapter, Krishna is saying, Mata Parataram Nanyat. This is how I am pervading everything. Like pearls are strung on a thread. He is that thread. And how can we then understand it and have some perception? Krishna says in the next verse, Rasoham Apsukontaya. When you taste water, that taste, you can understand it to be me. Prabhashmi Sashishuryaha. When you perceive the light of the sun and the moon, who is it? Understand that that is me. Pranava Sarva Vedeshu. I am the syllable Om in all the Vedic literatures. Shabdeke Parusham Rishu. I am the sound in ether and I am the ability in man. Ability in man. So like this we can see, yes, Krishna, we take the knowledge, we take the assertion from purified entities, acharyas, in this case the supreme of all acharyas, Krishna, who is presenting these principles, this philosophical understanding to Arjuna, and then we apply it to see how is this manifest, how can I understand it. This is called descending process. You take the axiom, you take the truth, and you apply it and see, oh, okay, now I see it, now I see it. Not that we try and understand it the other way. Let me go and search each pearl, let me break open each pearl and see where the thread is. No, it doesn't work like that. Doesn't work like that. So Krishna, he's this personality. No one is equal to or greater than him. And Srila Prabhupada speaks here in the purport about how in the earlier verse Krishna is mentioned as Bhagavan Atma Mayaya. Bhagavan. He is the possessor, Bhagavan, the Van of all the bhagas, of all the opulences. Aishvaryasya Samagrasya Viryasya Yashashashriya. No one is richer, more famous, stronger, more beautiful, wiser, or more renounced than Krishna, than He. He has everything. Here he is described as Varimna Sarva Yoginam. He is the best, the foremost Varimna of all the yogis. Yogis, they practice for so long simply to become richer, more beautiful, more learned, more this, more that, more everything than they are currently or than everyone else. But already, without even having to try for it or develop it, as Prabhupada says, Krishna, He's always the Supreme Lord. He's always the strongest. He does not have to practice and train to become strong. He's already the strongest. Therefore, He is already the greatest of the yogis. Whereas yogis, they try so hard to come to some level. And it can be very appreciable, right? We've seen yogis, we have heard about yogis who can live for many years, who can walk on water, who can produce things, gold and so many things. But Krishna already can do all these things and so much more. What to speak of producing a little gold, Srila Prabhupada said. Krishna, the supreme yogi, Yogeshwar, he has produced millions of gold mines. And he's floating them throughout the universe in the form of planets. And yogis, we get so amazed by yogis who can produce a little gold. It doesn't make sense where our appreciation lies, right? So if we want to follow or place our appreciation based on our material faculties, which includes the mind, all these senses, appreciating them at face value, then we will lose the opportunity to appreciate the greatest of the yogis, Yogeshwar Krishna, and seeing how he is maintaining everything, how he is permeating everything, how he's taking care of everything. And how do we do that? Towards the end of the purport, Prabhupada speaks about to hear and chant about Krishna. When one hears about Krishna, like in Bhagavad Gita, repeatedly, bhuri, repeatedly, then slowly our dependence on our material senses to acquire knowledge about everything around us, our dependence lessens on those faculties, and we take more advantage of the purification that comes through the hearing process, through the hearing and chanting process. Hearing from books like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. And Prabhupada says here that it brings pleasure. It brings pleasure. Maybe the first few times it didn't bring pleasure. Maybe the first 10 times it didn't bring pleasure. But every now and then, I'm sure all of you can testify that as you read Bhagavad Gita, study Bhagavad Gita, hear from the realized souls on Bhagavad Gita, every now and then there is a moment, an aha moment. Oh wow, that makes sense. That becomes so relevant. This clears things up. This pacifies my heart. This makes me peaceful. This satisfies me. This makes me happy. This makes me happy. So by repetition, bhuri, repeatedly hearing and chanting Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, slowly we become more realized because we are becoming more and more exposed to Krishna, more and more realized about Krishna, and as a result we become more and more pleased, more and more happy simply by this process. And here to hear about him, Prabhupada is translating the verse, to hear about him always is the actual pleasure of the senses. We have so many types of sensory pleasures, right? We taste nice things, we see nice forms, we touch nice things, we hear nice music. But all those, if it's not related to Krishna, they are not giving pleasure in any way. They may give some temporary pleasure based on our conception of what pleasure is, based on external engagements and interactions. But to hear about Krishna gives real pleasure. And as a result, he is known as Govinda, the one who gives pleasure to the senses. One who gives pleasure to the senses. We may think that, yes, it is true that we worship Krishna so that our senses can be pleased. Right? Let me worship Krishna so that I can taste nicer things or I can hear nicer things. No. Simply to hear about him gives pleasure to all our senses. When we come to this understanding that by hearing about Krishna more and more, by meditating on him, by worshipping him, then it qualifies us. It qualifies each and every one of our senses to actually become pleased. To actually become pleased. Because by separately trying to satiate the senses, separately from Krishna, to satiate the senses will result in frustration. Frustration. Right? So this is what Prabhupada is trying to present here. Another interesting thing in the purport is that everyone who is associated with the Supreme Lord is accepted as a first-class yogi. You have yogis who are trying to develop their skills and become very renowned and celebrated. But simply by associating with Krishna in bhakti, one becomes the topmost yogi. Yoginam apisarvesham madgatenantar atmana shadavan bhajate yomam samyukta tamo mataha. Who is the topmost of yogi? Yoginam apisarvesham, one who is intimately connected with Krishna, madgatenantar, who is always thinking of Krishna, is always serving Krishna in some way. That person is celebrated as the topmost of yogis because he's very intimately connected with Krishna in the mood of service. Devotees may not be as powerful as the Supreme Lord, Prabhupada says, but by constant association they become as good as the Lord himself. the famous example that Prabhupada uses. Iron and fire are different. They are different. But by constant association with the fire, if the iron rod is put for a very long time in the fire, it becomes as good as fire. It can start another fire. It can burn simply by constant association. So devotees who are immersing themselves constantly, repeatedly, in a very regulated way, gradually become as good as Krishna. This is what the process of bhakti does. Bhakti means to be constantly linked through the medium of devotion with Krishna. Bhakti connects the devotee with Krishna, and that connection makes the devotee as good as Krishna. As good as Krishna. Bhakti, Bhagavan, and Bhakta, they are of the same category when it's all applied properly through the process of bhakti. So by constant association, one can become as good as the Supreme Lord. Not only that, Prabhupada says sometimes the devotees act more powerfully than Krishna. But he does clarify that is the Lord's concession. Why does the Lord concede to that situation? Anandamaya bhyasat. Krishna, the Supreme Lord, is always seeking pleasure. If you have been in charge, if you have been subordinate for a very long time in your life to a particular situation, right? One may develop a feeling, well, this is not a very nice situation to be in. I wish I was in charge, right, of my own situation, rather being dependent and subordinate. And then when you eventually become in charge, it may feel nice for a while. But then after the responsibility of that situation bears on your shoulders and you have to be responsible for so many things, it's stressful. You realize, it was so much better being subordinate and dependent. Such a nice experience, free from the responsibility. I wish I could be like that. So Krishna, he takes pleasure in being subordinate. He takes pleasure in being dependent. And he elevates his greatest devotees who are completely one with him in that mood of devotion to him. He makes them he makes them superior to him. He makes them superior to him. Srila Prabhupada, that famous discussion he had once, asking who is superior? Who is the topmost? And Krishna pointed to Radharani is the topmost, like a similar picture like this. Krishna is threading a garland to be offered to Srimati Radharani, like this. And he says Srimati Radharani is the topmost, is the greatest. Then he looked around the room, he saw a picture of Mother Yashoda chasing Krishna with a stick. Mother Yashoda is the topmost, is the greatest. Krishna carrying Nanda Maharaj's shoes on his head. Nanda Maharaj is the greatest. And Prabhupada concluded, the devotee is the greatest. And how is the devotee greatest? How is the devotee known to be greater than Krishna? What makes the devotee greater? Because by constant association of the topics of Krishna through the process of bhakti, one becomes transformed due to love. That the devotee has one thing that Krishna doesn't have, and that is love for Krishna. So because of that one thing, because of love, Krishna comes under the control of the devotee. Comes under the control of the devotee due to love. Of course, externally Krishna is so much more powerful, of course, more powerful than any living entity, including, as Prabhupada is saying, even the other Vishnu tattvas. They are all subordinate to Krishna. Ekala Ishvara Krishna, Arasava Bhritya. Chaitanya Charitamrita says, everyone, Krishna alone, Ekala is the supreme controller. Everyone else is his subordinate. So by the Lord's concession to increase his pleasure and to increase the pleasure of his devotees, he agrees to come under the control of his devotees. So the devotees, they do not desire to become God. It is a very hellish conception, Kaivalya Narakayate, to become God. Rather, they aspire to become greater than God through love. This is a very interesting aspiration. Greater in the sense of they want to love Krishna, want to serve Krishna, want to do more for Krishna. And that commodity of love makes them even greater by the Lord's concession itself. The interesting thing about hearing about Krishna in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada says, the more one reads Bhagavad Gita, the more he gets an appetite to read and understand it. And each time he gets new enlightenment. So when we you may wonder, I don't know, at least this not a frequent realization of mine, that when I read Bhagavad Gita, I want to read more and more. But sometimes it happens. Sometimes that taste comes. But it doesn't always happen. Therefore, Prabhupada, Shonaka Muni is saying here, bhuri, repeatedly, that by repeatedly doing this, through a proper process, through a proper application, a proper administering of the experience of hearing Bhagavad Gita, then slowly our distaste to the topics of Krishna, because the thing in the conditioned state, the thing that we are most attracted to, have the most taste for, is topics about ourselves, isn't it? That's the thing we have most relish. Whenever you hear your name being mentioned, if you are just walking around the corner and you hear your name being mentioned, will you just continue? Come off it. What will you do? You'll stop to hear. What are they saying about me? You must stop here, because it's like, wow, very nice. They're talking about me. Of course, we don't want to hear negative things about us, but then even when we hear negative things, we stop and hear, right? What are they saying? We start defending in ourselves. So the taste for that is much greater at the moment. It's a disease. The disease of avidya. When one is blessed with vidya, Vigyan, transcendental realization, transcendental knowledge, then it takes the place, it supersedes the taste that we have for topics related to ourselves and topics related to how we can enjoy our senses. It supersedes it. But one has to do it repeatedly under the instruction of the spiritual authorities. Just like we go to the doctor, we go with some affliction and he gives us a whole schedule of things to do. What time to eat, when to take your medicine, 2 at this time, 1 at this time, before or after meals. And we have to do the course, the entire course. Otherwise, what's the use? Right? One can relapse. So our course is an eternal course of medication. That medication is the medication of sadhana and hearing and chanting. Daily, regularly, in a proper systematic way, not in a haphazard way. So like this, when we do it, eventually the appetite will come. The appetite will come. When one is sick, he has no appetite, isn't it? He has no appetite. But when one is slowly getting healthier, then appetite starts to come. So likewise, with spiritual life, in the beginning, yes, you may get some, by the mercy of Krishna and the devotees, you may get some taste that will attract you to want to do more and more and more. At least you'll get the understanding of what is a healthy condition of life and what is an unhealthy condition of life. What are the symptoms of ill health and what are the symptoms of being healthy? And the symptoms of being healthy will attract you. Oh, how nice if I could be free of back pain and ankle pain and diabetes and this and that. Oh, I'd like to be like this. And you see examples, you hear of examples of people who are healthy, what they can do, and how they are unrestricted in this way and that way compared to ourselves with arthritis and this and that. And you want to be like that. And you get given a method by which to become healthy again. So we start. And the method, I don't know if any of you, I'm sure you all at some point in time, have went on some exercise regimen. Whew. Starting is good, easy, right? Very easy. You make a whole plan, you draw the whole thing out, what you're going to do, what you're not going to do, eating, times, when you're going to train and everything. It may go for a few days, it may go for a week, But then after a while, it's hard to maintain it. It becomes difficult. So likewise, the spiritual regimen, we get attracted to what good health is. We are given the regimen, which is sadhana. And if we stick by it, slowly and surely, you'll see, I'm getting a taste for this. I'm getting a taste for this. Likewise, you see health freaks, gymnasium freaks. It's like their whole life in the morning or evening revolves around going to the gym. And even though it looks so difficult and intense, they just get a huge, huge kick out of it. They are very attracted to it. So similarly, the bhakti yogis, even though at one point it may not be so easy, it may not be so attractive, simply by sticking at it, day in and day out, the attraction will come, and you'll get newer and newer pleasures. Who was it? The great Saint Yamuna Acharya said, right? When I uncover more and more about Krishna, ever fresh taste, nava nava rasa, about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I can't imagine, like just the consideration of my past sense gratifications, it's terrible. What does he say? I curl my lips, right? And spit at the thought. I can't imagine how I did that. Can't imagine it. So, can you imagine ourselves in that consciousness of Yamuna Acharya? From where we are today, when I think of sense gratification, do I curl my lips in disgust and spit at the thought? I don't do that. Some of it, yes, it's like, oh, that's horrible, that's so gross, that's so dirty, we may think, right? But we don't think that deeply like Yamuna Acharya. But if you look at Yamuna Acharya's history, he was also a materialist, and through the process of the process of bhakti, look at his level. So we can see, oh yes, that's a healthy person. This is how I'm going to be reacting in the future if I simply stay the course. Help myself by hearing Bhagavad Gita regularly, by hearing and discussing Srimad Bhagavatam, and in that way we'll become happy, simply by doing it all the time. We have to help ourselves. Prabhupada sometimes quoted that saying, God helps those who helps themselves. God helps those who help themselves. And Prabhupada said, to help yourself means to always place yourself in the presence of transcendental sound vibration. That's what it means to help yourself. Help me. Okay. Read Bhagavad Gita. Hear Srimad Bhagavatam. That's how you can be helped. All right. Sorry, we went over time. We'll stop here. Maharaj, any comments from you? Thank you. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.